Welcome to the Roy Morgan Weekly Update. In a week that saw Prime Minister Albanese in China and the Pacific Islands, the Reserve Bank raising interest rates and the conflict in the Middle East heating up as Israel invaded Gaza, Roy Morgan reveals a nation divided. Of all Australians, 51% say the Israeli army should withdraw their armed forces from Gaza immediately, while 49% say they should not. That's according to a Roy Morgan special SMS poll of 1,650 Australians. Support for the Albanese government dropped 2% to 50% and is now equal with the coalition on 50% on a two-party preferred basis. Roy Morgan government confidence plunged 15 points to 66, the lowest rating so far under the Albanese government. A large majority of Australians, 59%, say the country's heading in the wrong direction, and that's up 8% in just a week. Only 25% say the country is heading in the right direction. And consumer confidence fell significantly after the Reserve Bank raised interest rates to 4.35%. That's a 12-year high. The ANZ Roy Morgan consumer confidence fell 3.5 points to 74.3, its lowest since mid-July. Inflation expectations were unchanged at 5.5% this week and in line with the four-week average. So Australians are now expecting annual inflation to be 5.5% over the next 2 years. That's virtually the same as the official rate of 5.4%. Looking more deeply now at Australian views on Gaza, remember 51% said Israel should withdraw their armed forces immediately, 49% said no. When asked why, those who said yes mentioned the disproportionate impact on civilians and the humanitarian crisis. They said things like over 99% of casualties and deaths have been civilians, too many innocents are being killed, and that it's time to sit down and talk. They talked about atrocities being inflicted on civilians and children and that their actions are beyond cruel. Other proponents of an immediate withdrawal said Israel has occupied Palestine for far too long and Palestine needs to be free, that it's not Israeli land and that they are engaging in a genocide, and that war crimes are war crimes on both sides, and that the initial attack doesn't justify the current actions of the Israeli Defence Force. Those respondents who said no to the withdrawal said Hamas has not yet been defeated and still have hundreds of hostages in Gaza, nearly all innocent civilians. And for there to be any withdrawal, the hostages must first be released. These respondents said Israel has a right to defend themselves after being attacked and that it would not be safe to withdraw immediately. Others noted that if Hamas is not defeated, they'll reform and attack again in the future, and that Israel needs to be allowed to finish the job. Respondents said that Hamas started the war, let Israel finish it. They say that Hamas are terrorists and that terrorism must be stamped out by eliminating the terrorists. Overall, more women than men say Israel should withdraw, and more young people than older people say withdraw. There's a very clear political divide on the question of withdrawal from Gaza. 93% of Green supporters say that Israel should withdraw their armed forces from Gaza immediately, as do almost 2/3 of Labor supporters, 64%. On the other hand, 75% of coalition supporters and 78% of One Nation supporters say that Israel should not withdraw their armed forces from Gaza immediately. Now, finally, a look at business. And we saw an improvement to business confidence, up 3.3 points to 90.4 in October. But that was, of course, before the Reserve Bank's latest interest rate increase. As most of you know, Roy Morgan interviews around 1,500 businesses each month, and despite this increase in business confidence in October, the measure, business confidence, has now spent a record 9 straight months under the neutral level of 100. The driver of the increase in business confidence in October was rising optimism among businesses about their own prospects over the next year. But a really concerning note was that an increasing majority, 51.9% of businesses, said that now is a bad time to invest in growing their business. That's the highest figure for this indicator for over a decade, since May 2012. And that's a wrap for this week. Thank you for listening today. I look forward to bringing you the latest data on consumer confidence, inflation expectations, voting intention, and mortgage stress next week.